Hello, everybody. My name is David Ostrom, and I am the Programs and Booking Manager of the Minnesota Music Coalition. Super happy to be here today. We've got a workshop and a fantastic panel for today's topic, which is music booking in 2022, venue and festival info and best practices for musicians. Huge welcome to the panel today, as well as the attendees watching. Thanks so much for joining us. We're looking forward to the conversation. I know there's a lot to talk about here today, so I don't want to take up too much time, but I did want to give a quick overview of the MMC booking program for those of you who might not know about it. So I'm actually, like I mentioned, the booking and referral manager for the MMC, and I deal with booking the music for all of our programs. So we offer a variety of performance opportunities that range from annual programs like our Caravan du Nord program and our Minnesota Music Summit to very regular, even bi-weekly or even more than that, programs like our airport gig that's available. Currently taking place twice a week, but yeah, we do our best to offer a variety of opportunities. These opportunities are attached to an application process. That's typically how we go about booking these things. And our applications are listed on our website, on our newsletters, and on our social media pages as well. And we've had a lot of different partnerships in the past. We've worked with the Hook and Ladder. We've worked with the airport. We've worked with the Mall of America, Summit Brewing Company, Capella Tower, the IDS Center, among many other MMC partners. So that's just a little bit about the booking program with MMC. And if you would like to learn more about that, you can send me an email at david@mnmusiccoalition.org, or you can visit our website and look at the booking and referral tab. It's right there under programs on our landing page. So you should be able to easily find info on opportunities that are currently available to you. All right. And with that, I wanted to jump into the booking conversation and let our panelists introduce themselves and get rolling on this first question. But before I do that, we had a panelist that was not able to join us today, Nate Dungan from the State Fair, and he sent over a blurb that I just wanted to start off this workshop with. So in terms of getting booked, Nate says if you want to get gigs, don't expect to do it from behind a keyboard. Jump in with both feet. Go out to the clubs where you want to play, hang out, meet people and make friends, learn what's working, and find where you fit in. Put together a co-bill with other bands. The fair is looking for bands who are on the rise with current trends, which is an extension of that whole process, just done on a macro scale. So just some insights from Nate Dungan at the State Fair, and I'm sure you guys will all echo that through the remainder of this workshop. All right. So I wanted to jump to our first question and introductions here. And whoever wants to go first can go first. So I just ask that you take some time to introduce yourself and also answer this question. What types of programming are you or your venue planning for the remainder of the year and into 2023? How do musicians get involved, and how do musicians set themselves up for success when it comes to accessing your gigs or presenting themselves as booking options?
All right, I'm going to go. My name is Joe Scarpellino. I do booking for several events, mostly music festivals. The Galactic Get Down is mine, but I also work with Rivertown Days in Hastings, Hotel Minnesota, and other various things depending on the year and what's going on.
Hey, don't forget Scalloween, man.
Scalloween, yeah. I mean, that Scalloween books itself. Actually, well, you know, when you, I had a protege named Joe Barron, but now he's just my partner. I taught him everything that I knew, and now he knows everything I know. So he does it all himself. But how do you get involved? Yeah, I mean, kind of. It's gonna say something really similar. Just be around, be helpful, be cool. Like, you know, I guess, you know, that I get to know people. I be patient, and with me personally, I have memory issues, so like people have to be kind when I don't know who they are for a while. And it's nothing personal. You know, like mild face blindness and just being in the industry can like really mess you up. So I feel like, you know, having a lot of patience and really, I love bands that work really hard between every time I talk to them. I like bands that talk about the cool things that they've done, or artists, let's say artists, and not the cool things they're going to do. I think I notice those things. Not that I don't like to hear about people's plans, but you know, it's like, don't talk about it, be about it. And I like people that will make the most out of any small opportunity. You know, bands are excited to play first on Thursday at 3 p.m. because they're gonna nail it. You know, I love that because I've been that. I see that. I forgot the last question. What was the last? Did I do it all? But yeah.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. All right. I think it's going to be best for me to just move to the next person on my screen here, which is going to be James.
Hey, I'm James Taylor, the other James Taylor. I started working at First Avenue in 2017, so I do booking at all of our rooms there. Prior to that, I was doing some touring. Prior to that, I owned a venue in Austin, Texas, but I've booked shows, managed bands, tours, all that stuff for a while. To answer the question, yeah, I think Nate, I was applauding as you were reading that because I think he really nailed it. I mean, I remember being a lot younger and being really upset about my band not getting booked, and someone who was older and a bit of a mentor saying, like, nobody knows who you are, they just know your email address. And, you know, going, not to say that, like, you know, I get that going out every night doesn't fit with everyone's lifestyle, but you know, get to know the people you're trying to work with is a huge plus. You know, if I can put a face to an email address, that helps out a lot. But that's not the only way to get booked. I mean, I think, like Joe said, working, doing stuff. You know, obviously getting a show at First Avenue is not always the easiest thing, but patience pays off. And you know, the worst thing is when a band emails and I ask, what have you been up to? And they said, just been trying to get a show with you, because I can give you a list of 50 other venues in the Twin Cities area that are booking bands that are solid places to play where you can build up a resume. So yeah, I think that answered the question. Oh, what type of programming? I mean, we do all sorts of stuff at First Avenue, as I'm sure many of you know, but yeah, lots of podcasts. Podcasts are popular, live podcasts. Lots of local music around the winter season when touring slows down. So that's the opportunity to get a foot in the door in January, February when there's not as much competition. But yeah, I think that answered the question.
Indeed. Thank you so much, James. Appreciate it. All right. Next on my screen here is Eli.
Okay. I'm Eli Hoehn. I'm with the Minnesota Original Music Festival. Am I coming out okay? Can you hear me all right there? Okay. And we're a new festival. We are run by mostly musicians from the St. Peter Mankato area. And we're trying to provide resources for people who write and perform their own music. And so this next year, 2023, our event happens in July. It's about a week-long event. Starts on this year, in 2023, it will start on July 17th and run through the 23rd. We have, and all of our events are free to the general public. We're trying to put together things specifically for musicians to help them in various parts of their careers. We have workshops, things such as how to monetize your original music, and working with improvisation, things like that. We have performance opportunities on the 22nd and 23rd of July in 2023. We'll have a weekend full of music and yeah, so and activities as well. So we're a little bit different, I think, than some of the other organizations. We are, I guess, just trying to provide ways for musicians in Minnesota to improve their lot.
Right on. Thank you. How would musicians get involved, and how would they set themselves up for success at the festival?
Yeah, I totally forgot about that question. So yeah, so if you follow us on our website, which is mnomf.org, or go to our our Facebook page, which is MN Original Music Fest, you will find, we'll keep you posted. So we generally have an application process that's going to start this year in January. And so we'll be taking applications for performances January and February. And then we'll make decisions in March and reach out to people and see, what our lineup is going to be. We are funded through grants, sponsorships, and donations. Totally. That's, where we get our funding from. So, if you want to be successful, I guess, we're looking for a diverse range of people, playing diverse kinds of music. And, I guess like everybody else, we'd like to have people who are exceptional performers and have lots of potential playing on the stage. So that's the thing, I guess. Is there anything else I need to answer for you?
You're all good. Thanks.
Okay,
I know it's kind of a loaded question, so
sure.
no worries at all. All right. Jesse, would you like to go next?
Sure. My name is Jesse Brodd, and I work with the Hook and Ladder Theater and Noble Presents. We also book the Uptown VFW, and work with Papa Charlie's up at Lutsen Mountains, and we just do other various venues in town that aren't owned by First Avenue. And so we are, very independent, and the Hook and Ladder Theater was what I'd like to focus on, and that's a nonprofit. And so we are, also funded by donations and by, supporters basically that come. And, the best thing that I could say about how to get a gig or, success for bands is, the quote we like is, make it the most important gig of your career. And, and when we see that, if everybody makes that the most important gig, you can see that in a band. And then those are the bands that we want to work with. And creating events like album releases and EP releases, and joining up with other bands to make it a bigger event. Maybe it's a 2-stage thing. Maybe it's a indoor festival. Those type. Come to us with some great ideas, and those are going to be more viable than just, hey, can I get a gig? That the amount of times that I've been asked that question is too many. And yeah, of course you can get a gig, but we're going to need something from you too, and we survive on supporters, which means you have to bring some people. And, as much as we do programming, and we do as much as we can to help accessibility for all sorts of artists. But if people aren't coming to your show, then the venue will no longer be there. And so it's very important for us that the ideas and the concepts that go into your performance are taken from full on, and we want to see 100% effort. And I think that's, we see that afterward. And how do you get in the door? Well, I think we've covered that. Come meet some of us, come down and visit the venue, show us that you care. If I ask you, have you ever been here before? And you haven't, you're probably not going to get a gig. So come check it out. Support us. Support other artists. I mean, there's such a big community, and if you're supporting others and others are supporting you, that's great way to build a scene and a great way to get those people to come to your first big performance or and sometimes you got to text your uncle or your grandma to come to the show too, because you need everybody to show up. And so taking the extra time to do personal texts to actually make this the show of your life at our level is really important. If you want to play the fine line, if you want to play some of these other bigger venues, you might have to play our venue first. And so you're going to need to put all your effort into it. Types of programming, our winter is starting, which means we opened up our mission room. The mission room is during the summertime is used as the backstage for our Under the Canopy series, which is an outdoor for 400 to 500 people it can fit. But in the fall and in the winter, as we have the off season, the mission room opens up and it's a perfect room for about 100 people, and it's great for upcoming artists. And putting together those 3-band bills and approaching us with some good ideas is gonna land you an opportunity, because we're here to give artists opportunities.
Thanks so much for those insights.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've seen some great shows in the mission room, so definitely a great point there.
I just had one. It was dope.
Yeah, you did. Yes, you did.
All right. Hi, Bethany. You are next in line.
Hi. I'm going to apologize in advance if my connection gets all wonky. I'm Bethany Lacktorin. I'm director at Little Theater Auditorium in New London. It's a small nonprofit in rural Southwest Minnesota. Our town's fluctuates between 1,600 and 3,000 people seasonally. I started working at the theater in September 2019, and I think at the time I said, whatever can be in this space will be in this space, which was quite a change from the past 30 years. The building's 101 years old, and for the past 30 years, the theater was focused on high school plays and the occasional cover band, mostly bluegrass and folk, which is great. But we needed to do something else to use the space, and it was ready to shut down. So a lot of what we do expands into the community, and isn't just like within the doors of the theater. So to reintroduce the theater to the community, I tapped into local musicians, and I found that there's a surprising number of extremely talented musicians in the area just looking for a place to play. So we started with open mics so we could kind of get to know each other and see who's actually living, because in a rural spot, we're kind of spread out. You never know who you're going to find around the next 2-mile bend. And of course, September 2019 going into 2020, all of those shows were virtual. But it got a lot of attention because they could play them back. We raised a lot of money to keep our doors open, doing open mics like that, and got to know each other enough. So the following spring, we got together and did a citywide porch fest, still staying outside. Several of us experiencing the porch fest that happened in the city and kind of missing that energy. We host performance art shows by traveling and touring groups. We do teaching workshops, everything from songwriting workshops to beadwork. We do karaoke nights, radio theater, drag shows, and burlesque. We do an annual silent film and live music show with local bands and then a couple bands from elsewhere. What else? We're doing a Learn to Dance series where we bring in a dance instructor to teach. Like we've done salsa, swing, two-step, polka, square dance, and then bring in a band of the corresponding genre to play live with the instructor. It's kind of chaotic, but it's super fun. And we get to know each other at the same time, which is so important in a small community like ours. And just recently, we've started doing art exhibitions with live music at the same time. And hosting live audience podcasts and interviews. Something I've just started kind of trying to reach out and do is talk to other small town venues so we can begin doing a block booking circuit. Right now we do a lot with Granite Falls because otherwise we just can't bring certain groups out here. We can't afford it. We don't have all of the resources unless we pool what we have together. Let's see, next year we're doing a Harvest Fest parade with the Heart of the Beast, very much like the May Day parade, with local musicians and artists to get out on the street. Generally, I've been finding musicians locally through word of mouth. They hear from a friend that we're booking shows for the first time in so many years, and I'll get an email or a message on Facebook. When I first moved here 7 years ago, I was a sound engineer for a long time in the cities. And so I did that at the brewery. And so it was a natural progression to just start booking and tapping into friends in the cities to get them out here and play. And it's growing slowly. So people want to come out and find out, well, what's this strange little place in the middle of nowhere? If you would like to find out more, we have a website. It's littletheaterauditorium.org. And you can email me at bethany@littletheaterauditorium.org. Did I answer all the questions?
Yes, and it's very cool to hear about how you're diversifying your programming a ton. It sounds like you're bringing a great variety of stuff, which is fantastic. Just for the people that are watching that might not know where this is, where is New London?
New London is 2 hours almost straight west of Minneapolis. Take Highway 55 and you'll bump right into us.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least, Paul. And I'm not sure if you caught the question. I will.
Yes. Do you mind stating the questions again, please?
Yeah. So if you could introduce yourself, that would be great. And then with that, what types of programming are you and your venue planning for the remainder of the year and into 2023? How do musicians get involved, and how do musicians set themselves up for success when it comes to accessing your gigs or presenting themselves as booking options?
Great. Well, I book a couple different events in the Stillwater St. Croix Valley, so I'll touch on all of them, and then I can circle back if there are particular questions. My name is Paul Creager. I organize the Square Lake Film and Music Festival. I've done that for 18 years, and we're set to have our 19th next summer. That event is held on a small hobby farm north of Stillwater, where I grew up and where I live next door to that right now. That event was, it's not that well known across the state, but it's kind of dearly loved by those who have been there. I modeled it after events that I attended when I lived in Japan. And when I brought that back here, there weren't a lot of music festivals in the early 2000s, and especially not music and film. And so we've been around for those years. The Square Lake Festival builds itself around biking. More than half our attendees bike to and from the event. That allows us to have the event on a quaint property, not just a space next to a parking lot. We want to divest from car culture, and we want to disconnect from those things that aren't propelling the arts. We feature camping on a small property. We feature stargazing, big bands on a small stage that my father built. We build most of our things out of repurposed materials. So we're kind of, we're proud of some of those parts of the event. And I think when it comes to, I'll skip to like musicians. I think the musicians that we connect with, they feel our vibe. They tell us that they want to be associated with that approach to music, where you're in a natural setting and you're kind of playing off the stars and the crickets and the vegetation. You're placing your music in that context. There's nothing wrong with, of course, all the beautiful indoor venues of the Twin Cities. It's just our thing is we're just going further in that direction. When I think about 2023 for our event, we we kind of had a game changer last fall where the band Low from Duluth reached out to us and said, we want to have our album release at your event. So we built the event around them, and they actually curated the show. And we had it for 2 nights last year. So for 2023, we're at least thinking about a performer that wants to, you might say, put one hand on the wheel or both hands. And we want to kind of try to fulfill the vision of the performer. And then in that case, that performer might be influencing the musical acts. In years past, when we didn't do it that way, we would combine performers that reached out to us with performers we reached out to. And I ditto everything of all the other events that spoke earlier, and I respect all of your work. I'm an admirer of the work you do. And I'm challenged by articulating how to pick a lineup. I'm not sure I'll ever be able to tell you exactly why. It's a soft skill. There's a synergy that can appear once you make your first difficult decision. And then you start to see the connections between performers. And I've made mistakes, like Lizzo reached out to us 15 years ago and we didn't book her. My daughters still harass me about that. Like, you're such an idiot. What were you thinking? And and we definitely get performer proposals, and more I will follow up on them. Sorry, I'm being too long here, but I'll skip to, so that's the Square Lake Film and Music Festival. And we have about 500 attendees, and we have music from noon to midnight. And it's a film festival also. So especially sometimes when performers tell us they want to connect more with film, they want to do a film score, things like that. That's really a shoe-in for consideration for us, because we want to make that connection occur. Minnesota film, Minnesota music. I also book music for Lumberjack Days, which is, like, you probably are wondering, like, who is this guy? This doesn't make any sense, because Lumberjack Days is in Stillwater. It's very much like inspired by the programming of the state fair, whatever the term is that people would prefer for that, but just kind of like middle of the zone. It works with a lot of people, and same way, performer proposals are good for us. And next year, we're looking for more Minnesota acts. This year, we actually built the whole program from bands that were from Stillwater, like Yam House. Met the guy at a garage sale. He headlined the next year. We just want to connect really hyper locally. And if anyone listening to this program is interested in the Square Lake Festival, I'll put our website in the chat. And there's ways to reach out to us for film proposals, music proposals, etc.
Thanks so much. And one quick thing, that chat is actually a private chat only for us here. I think if you put it in the comments, it should appear on the YouTube stream. I believe so.
I'll do that.
Well, thanks so much for the intros and for addressing that first jam-packed question. Lots of great insights were shared, and I really appreciate that, and I'm sure the viewers do too. I've got a couple other questions, and these ones are for anybody to answer, so feel free to jump in. Let's start with this one. What are you thinking about in your booking roles as you keep working to build a music industry that is more inclusive, more equitable, and more transparent? And again, anyone can jump in for this one.
I just try and listen a lot to what people have to say when they're commenting about things that already exist. I empower people that have completely different views and different lifestyles than myself, and just kind of get used to trying new things and making changes and representing as many people as you possibly can. I think the best thing I have ever done to help my events be diverse is to do less and let others do more, I suppose. I think it's that's what I got.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
Anyone else have thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, we're constantly trying to put together as diverse billing as we can, week to week and month to month at First Avenue. I think there's a lot of different scenes that don't get opportunities. Like there's an amazing African diaspora music scene here in the Twin Cities that isn't getting a lot of opportunity to play on good stages. Hopefully we're providing those opportunities. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a, what's the phrase? Female fronted is not a genre. Like I think a mistake that gets made is you put a bill together with a bunch of female singers and you think that is a good bill just because they're all women. Like I think there's interesting ways to put together diverse bills that people want to see, that's presenting good music, that's not just looking for the bare minimum through line, right? But yeah, hopefully we're doing it. I think having people booking the venues that don't all look like me is also a great way to make sure that the programming being presented is as diverse as possible.
Thank you, James.
Yeah, we have we have a lot of different times we have programming. We've ticket sales events, and we try to use opportunities at all the different points to get to diversify, have an eye on diversity and equity. Using whether it's giving bands or artists opportunities to play in front of an audience that maybe would not see that artist is a big thing that we've been trying to do this year, and trying to get dollars from outside sources to help us pay for and program a more diverse lineup. So, and working with partners such as MMC, who has that diversity, and working with folks like Joe too, who have that goal in mind and have some funding and can help kind of really connect the dots and really help make it more equitable. So it's something we're trying to improve on every day, and something that we will continue to work hard for.
And I also want to add, like, it's improved since the idea and the commitment was set in motion. My life has improved musically and otherwise. Like, it's not that it was bad before, but as soon as you open it up and you start listening properly, and things get better. They really do. They did for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. Thanks so much.
I can.
Just out of curiosity, the greater Minnesota people, I'm curious about your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I could speak to that. I mentioned that we're a small town. 99% of the people who live here, well, it's a predominantly white, over 60 retiree community. So we've struggled a bit. We're new but old. The building is old, but I'm new. So we've struggled a bit with keeping a balance between what their expectations are and what we, as a younger board, there's 8 of us, all under 40, would like to what we'd like to introduce to the community. So we bring in jazz and bluegrass and folk and maintain some of the traditional annual events, but give them a little twist. And recently, in the last couple of years, we've had almost 50 new families moved into the area, under 35 or younger. So we're finding a lot of support from them for original music, rock and hip hop, and like singer-songwriter workshops. Recently, with our drag show, that brought up a lot of things, a ton of things that were never ever brought up before. For instance, a very, very old ordinance that needed to be changed, because it basically said if you have an 18 plus show or a show that's just for a certain age group, and you have music at the same time and you have dancing at the same time, then you're breaking the law. So folks chose that moment to decide to enforce that ordinance. So as exhilarating as it is to change the world with art, it wasn't easy, but we're going to keep doing that. It's a challenge for sure, to remain transparent, to take the high road, to be calm under that kind of pressure, because these are our neighbors and we grew up with them and we work with them and I see them every day. There's no escape, and even no escape. So we have to tread lightly, but still with intention and a lot of care, because these are the folks who can get out of trouble if they're not careful. We're really beholden to the community. And yet at the same time, we want to make sure that we are providing a place for their kids and grandkids to want to come back to. Otherwise, we die. So that is like the underlying goal for all of us working at the theaters, to make sure that New London is a spot that people want to come to even after college, and they've seen the rest of the world, like I did.
Thank you, Bethany.
At the Minnesota Original Music Festival, we reached out to the Minnesota Music Coalition to help us with the diversity thing, trying to connect with different groups of people and musicians and in musical genres that aren't really around in our neck of the woods. So that was very helpful. So otherwise, yes, we're a bunch of older white people, and that's pretty much all we have is older white people.
I would just chime in on this and say it's a perpetual area of reflection, but something that was in Nate Dungan's comment at the beginning, I would just flip it around to venues who want to create programs that are compelling and modern and diverse. Would be you have to be at you have to go out to the shows. You got to get out and deeply challenge yourself, spin the wheel and go to the show that you don't know anything about, you don't know any of the bands, or it's really out of your wheelhouse. And I just think the power of music is so big that you will find compelling synergies between bands where you'll find the balance you need as a venue with the balance you want to achieve as a modern venue booker. So, and I think I was in better practice of that before I had 2 kids and just life changes. I would go to more shows and just would say I was more proud of some of my lineups 10 years ago because I was finding performers and then I've kind of seen the impact of getting out of that process and how I might need to take shortcuts to achieve a lineup that worked, but I didn't feel good about it either. I felt like, oh, I could do better, but I don't have the ideas, and so it's just appreciate Nate's comment at the beginning and say applies right to us too.
Thanks for that. This is such a rock star panel. You guys are great. Appreciate it.
You're great.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I always like to, I don't know, sort of strategically talk to younger people that go out, and I ask them regularly, like, who have you seen? What did you like? What's it like out there? It's kind of like what I, have come to kind of rely on, because even though, I mean, I'm aging, I'm not old, but I still can't do it like I used to do it. And I still want to know, like, I want to know what's going on. So I kind of like expand my team and sort of trust their taste. I don't know. I mean, a lot of that are people who attend the events that I put on anyway. So it's like, do you think they'd be good for our event? You know what I mean? Like, that's the only, because I know exactly what you mean. Like, booking the easy way is never the best way, but sometimes like these things don't just happen, and you just got to put it on the show and do your best, you know, and then see what happens.
Yeah, we're also trying to hire and get younger people involved in the booking process. So actually having kids that are going out there and that are seeing music today that are kind of can give us a little bit of insight of what is going on, like Joe stated. And so trying to groom some younger kids into the process and into the profession. It's a lot harder than you think, but we're trying.
Yeah, I was going to add, I'm probably the lucky one here who works with a significantly younger staff. So I definitely have 21-year-olds and 24-year-olds telling me what's cool. At the same time, unlike a lot of other cities and markets, I mean, there's obviously a much like a rich history of music here. So, you know, I just had to give one of our bookers a copy of Sin Collins's Complicated Fun and say, hey, you need to read this book and find out who all these bands are, because so yeah, it kind of works both ways in this town, right?
Yeah.
All right, I think we're at question 3 here, and again, this is for anybody. Can you speak a bit about how you ended up in the booking, event, festival planning field? What is your advice to anyone who is interested in getting more involved in booking musicians and artists?
I have a joke I tell everyone the first time they try and throw something is, friends don't let friends throw music festivals.
I knew I shouldn't have let you do that.
Just like, are you sure? I fell backwards into it, and I started booking out of necessity and because I didn't want to pay anyone. And then I kept getting better at it, and I didn't want to pay anyone that wasn't as good as I was. And then here we are. I don't know. Now it's kind of just like a obsession. But how do you get into it? I don't know. I think it just, you start to see where things can happen, and you do it. You see things that aren't there, you know, you make them real.
Right.
Yeah.
I got my start with the coolest, most independent, badass booker, Sue McLean, and she taught me almost everything I know. And then I definitely worked at Music in the Zoo, and for years as a designer and as a kind of her younger person that was, technology wise, help them kind of move in technology. And then I stumbled upon this little brewery called Harriet Brewing, and I created the music program at that place for about 5 years, and put a little stage in the corner, created a vibe that breweries have food trucks and live music. And then some people down the street, after I was done with Harriet Brewing, some people down the street said, hey, do you want to start this nonprofit with us? And all of a sudden we started the Hook and Ladder Theater. We've been doing that for 6 years. So kind of by accident, I just went to school for graphic design, and I met this guy named Timmy the Freak, and we started the rag newspaper, and I met all these people ever since then. So it's just, the love of music was what got me involved in it. And I wouldn't change a thing.
That's very cool. I did not know that.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for sharing, Jesse.
It's been very
No
impressive
problem.
to watch this whole time, Jesse, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
I played that corner.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to answer that question, like for me, I was playing in bands right out of college, so like, a while ago now, and my band wasn't getting booked at this would have been in Austin, Texas, so it wasn't getting booked at the cool venue in town. I wasn't even getting a reply to my emails, so I said, well, screw this, I will just book shows elsewhere, and started booking my own shows at this reggae bar that wasn't really doing rock shows, but I was like, hey, I think we can get people out to these. And then sort of concurrently with that, then the band I was in was doing pretty well. So this was like in the MySpace days. So bands would hit us up and want to like play with us. But we couldn't play every show. And then there was like light bulb moment of, well, wait a second, I know the venues and I can just email them and book your band and then book a couple other bands on it. So I guess I'm a booker now. So I kind of just started like that, and just finding places where, you know, coffee shops where they'd let me book 3 bands that had no business playing in a coffee shop. But, you know, and then I would come home and my now wife would ask, how did things go tonight? And I'd say, well, the show made $150, so I made 10% of that, so I made $15. but I met a lot of people, and then she would say, well, eventually those people need to pay our rent. And I was like, yep, I'll figure it out. And now here I am. Yeah.
Nice.
I got my start. I played with a lot of bands out of college, and then moved to Prague, and found that I couldn't book a show because I didn't speak Czech, and there were a lot of expat musicians who had the same problem. So we said, hey, look at this hostel. Lots of English speakers are here. So we got the basement going and called it the Brick Bar and booked whoever we wanted. And then looked at the map and said, look at all these bands that just pass right over the Czech Republic, going from Austria to Germany to wherever. Why don't we offer them a place to stay at the hostel and start booking them here? And so we did that for about 2-3 years. And it slowly grew until they sold the building, and then that was it. But it was a good way for me to get my feet wet. I mean, we had to outfit the whole basement with everything, speakers, cables. I learned how to make my own cables. That was fun. And bought a mixer, did the whole gosh darn thing. And our biggest show was Thanksgiving. Because you'd be surprised, but nobody sells turkeys in the Czech Republic. You have to go all the way to Germany. Yeah. So but yeah, that was my first experience booking regularly, and then came back home and decided to just keep doing it.
Cool.
It's a very cool story.
I could go next. I just want to preface my comment with make sure everyone understands that event, the Square Lake Festival. It doesn't have some of the commercial requirements of other events to bring people in on weekday nights, etc. So it's different where I'm coming from with that. But what I think about when I'm booking and what interests me about doing it is I just try to build backward from a sincere belief that bringing a group of people together brings good into the world. It creates possibilities that cascade away from it. The butterfly effect. I've seen it. I believe it. I know it's true. And so that is, to me, very inspiring. And to be to create a synthesis of skill sets between people is the magic of our humanity. It's creating a space and moment that you had to be there. You have to be there. You can't watch it on YouTube later. You can't watch it on this film on your phone. You need to be out there under the stars with crickets and frogs. And that is the experience. So to me, that's the beauty of booking and organizing, is that. And I kind of go back to the intent that it's bringing people together. And that happens at every one of your venues, and in all shapes and forms. So it's a very, on an anthropological level, it's very important that humans can do these things. And it's on cave walls and it's on Facebook posts. It's everything. So that's what draws me to it and keeps it going. And that I try to force that into the brewery that might hire me to do it too. When it's not the same as the Square Lake event. And in Stillwater with Lumberjack Days, I've had to go against the grain for that, because it was kind of faded classic rock and cover band type events. But since I've booked it, it's gone everywhere from like Greg Brown to Greg Grease, just different, but all Minnesota. So to me, that's important, that the scope of an event be tight, because then you get that the collision of the particles, the people who, and if it's too big, I don't have interest in that, because even though you might draw more people in, the chance of the echo and synergy perhaps decreases. So I would just, for future generations of booking, to me, I would just say, think about the after effects of your good work. And that might orient you for the show in the way that I believe in.
Thanks so much. Eli, did you have any thoughts to share on this?
Oh yeah, I've got plenty of thoughts. Let's see, I'm going to think a couple of them. I guess my experience has been that as a musician, I found that performing at bars is very unsatisfying in lots of different ways. So I was trying to come up with ways to present the music that I write in the music that I play in my band, Captain Gravitone, to audiences. So I guess I just started putting my own shows together and reaching out to various theaters. So we were able to get shows like at the Paramount down in Austin and the Paradise and Faribault, and actually even a couple of shows at the Hook and Ladder Theater that we got in. And so just putting those things together. And even though I play less frequently, as a consequence, I find they're much more satisfying to do. And so it kind of eventually evolved into the Minnesota Original Music Festival. And so here we are. So this is our we've only had 1 year, 1 season, but we're preparing for year number 2 coming on up here. So but I don't know, it's just I guess it's more satisfying to perform for people who are interested in what you're doing, and there's a cool vibe going on in the space that you're in, as opposed to a bar where the acoustics aren't very good, and people want to hear Johnny Cash cover songs and things like that. So
yeah, that actually made me think of a good point that I wanted to bring up earlier. I think about knowing where you want to play, right? There's a big difference between bars that have live music venues, and listening rooms. Those are all 3 different types of approach, and your band might not be a good fit for that. I mean, obviously we book singer-songwriters all the time, but if maybe the entry is not the best fit for you if you're just a guy or a gal with a guitar, right? But there are great rooms for that. But yeah, knowing where it is that you want to play, or like a band that wants emails about playing the Fine Line but is not playing 650 cap rooms, right? Knowing what it is you want to do.
And as an artist, it can take a long time to figure that out. And I think that's a really good thing to know early. That there, what you're doing might not be wrong. It's just wrong for where you are.
Which is another great reason to visit the venue.
Right? Yeah, and as a venue to listen to the bands you're booking. I mean, I've been booked in that. None of these people, but I've been booked in a very loud band in a very not loud space, and then we get in trouble.
Right.
Oh yeah, playing a restaurant and being asked to turn down constantly. It's like, what? You asked me to be here. What are we doing?
Did you not listen to it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for that. We're actually doing great on time. We have about 6 minutes for any comments from the viewers right now. And if there are no comments, I'll probably ask that you guys share one final tip for local musicians looking to get booked at your venue or for your festival or event. Just something that they can take away and, utilize when the booking season comes around.
I've been trying to fit this in, but I help bands that help bands that help bands that help bands. I help people that help people. If I see somebody helping, building a community, I help them more than anyone. You know,
I like that.
That's. I mean, you know, like if I see somebody building something, I'm more attracted to that than anything else. So that's my tip: is to just cooperate and don't compete. Healthy competition and be inspired, but like don't pit bands against each other. Don't compare yourself to. It's just help. Just help. Be kind and help out.
Thanks, Joe.
I would also say I've had performers kind of look back at previous events and then ask somebody who we've worked with before to pitch them to me. I remember Mike Lewis, the bass player or sax player for Happy Apple. He turned me on to, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name right now, but a great performer that I booked because that really piqued my attention. And then to me, the synergy was there. Like I knew that a musician I respect felt like it would be a good fit. So it just made it really easy for me. So I think musicians do that too. Have your buddies who already played somewhere make a pitch.
Thank you. Key takeaway.
Don't give up.
I like that. Stay persistent.
Yeah, set your goals. Know what it is you want to get out of playing music, right? There's different levels of what we call success. So maybe playing the First Avenue main room is your goal. Maybe you just want to be able to play some shows every once in a while for your friends. Just know what it is you want going into it.
Yeah, I think expectation has a lot to do with everything, right? So figure out what those are. Adapt. Be willing to adapt. Be willing to give. I like what you said there. Key takeaway.
You better love it.
You better love it.
Even the stuff that sucks.
You better love it. Just better
It's a
love what you
grind,
do.
man.
Be
You
kind
better
to
love
your
what you do.
sound
You better-
person.
Yeah. Better love it all because it's a hard. It's not easy.
That's what I say about touring too. It's like you better love the gross stuff if you're gonna do it right.
Yeah.
And be extra special nice to your sound person.
That is a big one.
100%.
It's probably good to be extra special nice to everybody. You know, like the people that are helping you carrying your gear, the people that are paying you, the people that are making you sound good, the people that are serving the drinks that
Yeah.
make
Maybe
the
the-
whole thing go round. And I think that's probably a good idea to just be kind, because when we run into artists that aren't, they don't really ever come back. They're not invited back. So
Yeah, you could be great, and if you're yeah, I'm the same way.
yeah, man, there's no
Be
room for it.
nice. Yeah, just be nice.
So true.
Because we're all
And I-
trying to do the same thing. Like it's like there's plenty of room. We're all fine. Like,
And maybe wait to get sloppy drunk till after you tune.
that's a whole different thing. We tune because we care, and everyone cares.
That's a whole other seminar right there.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're coming right up on 5 o'clock here. If you have any last thoughts that you'd like to share with the viewers, feel free. Otherwise, I do want to be respectful of everybody's time here, and I really appreciate you guys making this happen today. Once again, just a rock star panel. I need to reiterate that. So cool to see such amazing people from around the state doing great things and putting together great shows.
Yeah, and include yourself, man. I mean, we couldn't do this without you. So.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, unless someone does have anything else to share, I'm
Go
going
to
to
shows. Give them all your money.
Yeah.
Even if it's not real. That's all I got.
Great. Well, thanks again. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
You.
Nice to meet you
I'm
guys.
sure- yeah. I'm sure we'll all connect again soon.
Sounds
All
great.
Boom.
Take care.
Right.
Good night.